When you imagine someone who is super successful, you might be thinking of the guy who drives a super expensive sports car, wears a luxury $10,000 watch, and maybe wears a power suit every single day while showing off his luxurious mansion. But in reality, the truly rich are often very humble, and you honestly can't even tell who they are just by looking at them. My name is Sean and I make money easy. And my wife and I have accumulated over $5 million in assets through our business ventures and investments and traveled the world to experience life to the fullest. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing why looking poor is important and why adopting this mindset can actually build you true, long-lasting wealth. I'll be explaining why keeping a low profile is great for building wealth, how it improves our lives, and how you can apply it for yours. Now, when I say it's important to look poor, it doesn't mean looking homeless. You still want to look clean and presentable. What I'm talking about is you don't need to flex and look like you're worth $10 million just to impress other people. And as a millionaire, looking poor has actually made us richer. Now, for instance, I don't wear any jewelry, but I could easily afford to buy multiple Rolexes that are $10,000 each. But for the longest time, I was only wearing a $200 watch that a friend bought for me as a gift. Nowadays, I don't even wear a watch because my phone tells time just as well. And instead of dropping $70,000 on a Porsche or a Lexus, I drive an $18,000 Toyota Corolla, and my wife drives a used $6,700 Nissan Sentra that she bought off of Craigslist. Now, in contrast, a lot of people are doing the opposite. They're buying these expensive watches, they're driving these super nice cars, even though they can't actually afford them. When they're doing this, they're craving external validation. They want other people to think that they're rich. But in reality, by making these moves, they're actually getting poorer because they might be getting these big paychecks to be able to afford these things, maybe on payments or maybe just as a one-time purchase. But the thing is, by making these purchases, they're actually spending money on something that actually loses value over time instead of saving and investing that money instead. Like if you buy a super top-of-the-line car for $150,000, the second you drive it off the lot, it's going to lose $20,000 in value right there. And that's the main problem with buying these luxury goods and items. They typically don't retain their value when you try to resell them in the future. And another thing that people don't really realize is that these fancy purchases don't just drain from your bank account, but they can actually trap you in a cycle that's hard to break free from. For instance, I had a really good friend who was working at a nonprofit and she wasn't making the greatest salary. But it's hard living under such a constrained budget for a long time, and after working for several years, she didn't really have a lot saved. But she figured that because she put in so much time and energy into working, she deserved to treat herself, and she bought a nice Lexus. Obviously, she couldn't buy that car with cash, so she got it on a loan. Now, her monthly payments were around $1,000 a month, and it was natural because after she balanced all her books, she was able to basically break even, but she was living paycheck to paycheck. But the thing is, her rent was really low because at the time, she was living with her boyfriend's parents, so she only had to pay around $500 a month for utilities and the rent, just to pitch in a little bit. Now, this was fine for a while, but then over time, she realized that she didn't really want to be in this relationship anymore, but she couldn't really leave, right? That sucks, that you want to leave your boyfriend, but you can't because you have nowhere else to live. You have all these payments, she has pets, basically it was all bad. And because she bought her car and treated herself in the past, she was now trapped in the future. She couldn't make actual decisions like breaking up with a guy you're no longer interested in. And I get it too. Sometimes buying luxury goods is a cultural thing. For example, in Hong Kong and many other Asian communities, people love buying gold. They see it as a way to truly store wealth. And this kind of cultural thinking even caused a small argument between me and my wife because we were invited to the birthday party of one of her friend's kids. Now, I suggested just giving them a red envelope with some cash inside. They could use that money to, save for their college tuition or to buy them a nice present. But my wife's parents insisted that we buy them something with gold in it because gold has more significance. But my thinking was, if I'm gonna buy something small at a gold store, first of all, it's going to cost more than it's worth. And second of all, if it's going to be something really small, they're probably just going to put it in a vault somewhere and then it'll never be seen again. So that money will be ultimately wasted. Now, this same mentality also goes for wedding and engagement rings. I once had a friend tell me that she wouldn't accept a man's proposal unless the engagement ring was worth at least $50,000 to prove that that man truly believed in their relationship and would sacrifice his whole year's paycheck on one ring. Now, of course, that's the extreme example, but a lot of my friends would actually buy rings that are worth around $15,000. Now that's cute and all, but then I asked them a few years later where they're keeping their rings because they don't wear them every single day. And most of them were saying, they're not sure. Maybe it's in a jewelry box somewhere, or maybe it's in a safe, but ultimately, there is $15,000 worth of someone's paycheck in a vault, never to be seen again. And that's how it's like for a lot of jewelry. You spend a lot of money on it, and then it ends up in a box. And for my wife and myself, we don't wear any jewelry. In fact, I bought our wedding rings on Amazon for $10 for me and $15 for her. Honestly, we just wore them for the ceremony, and after that, it's sitting in a box somewhere. Instead of spending tens of thousands of dollars on those rings, we save and invest that money instead. But here's the thing, this mindset of looking poor can save you more than just money. There's something deeper in it that actually changes how people see you. and we'll get into that in a little bit. Now, beyond saving money, another benefit of looking poor is that it helps you focus on what truly matters, which is building genuine connections with other people. When you're not out there trying to impress everybody by wearing like the latest fashion or having the nicest purses, you're less likely to attract people who only care about those things. And in reality, the people who truly matter in your life don't even care about that stuff anyway. Those people value you for your character and who you actually are. And if you're going out there, flexing all the time, paying for expensive dinners, and looking really nice, and wearing very expensive clothing, you might start wondering who your real friends are and who's just a mooch who's hoping that you might buy them something in the future as well. This is a common struggle for a lot of famous people or wealthy people, especially people who have newfound wealth. They often have relatives coming out of nowhere asking them for loans or asking them for money, and they sometimes question any new friendships and wonder if this is someone who is truly my friend or if they had an ulterior motive. But by keeping a low profile and not broadcasting your wealth, you can engage with others on a human level without that pressure of your financial status over your head. And as we travel the world, we dress like college kids, so no one can tell who we are just by looking at us. When we joined a Japanese immersion program for 3 months, we didn't tell anyone who we were. Sharon and I just sat in class like regular students. No one suspected that we were multi-millionaire real estate investors, especially by the way we dressed. And it was only on the very last day of class that someone asked for our Instagram accounts that they realized that we had a huge following and were actually real estate investors. But by then, class was already over. Now, this experience was refreshing to us because it allowed us to make connections without worrying about what they might think of us. We could enjoy making genuine connections and friendships, knowing that those people were interested in us for who we were instead of what we had. And actually, I prefer buying clothes that are really cheap as long as they're comfortable and they look good. For instance, most of my shirts only cost $3, but to me, they feel great and they look amazing. It fits me well, it looks nice, and helps me blend into the crowd. But what if I told you that living humbly also comes with another surprising benefit? Something that goes beyond just saving money and building genuine connections. Well, dressing humbly also gives you a sense of mental freedom and happiness. When you start buying expensive things, you make yourself a target. Think about it. Would you feel comfortable parking your super nice car in a sketchy neighborhood? Probably not, because it might get damaged, broken into, or stolen. The same thing goes for wearing fancy jewelry, constantly flexing out in public. You become a target for people who want what you have. But if you're just walking around in plain clothes, wearing sneakers, and maybe a Casio watch, people probably wouldn't want to risk their freedom stealing that cheap $20 watch. And even if you live in a super nice and safe neighborhood, there are still ways that people can get your money. Because if people think that you have a lot of money, they're gonna find a way to take it, probably by suing you. And as an example, my friend got into a minor car accident with someone, but because he was driving a Tesla, the guy who got hit knew that he had a lot of money. So instead of just taking some money from their insurance to fix their damages, he sued my friend for $500,000. Now this put a lot of stress on my friend, and luckily, after about a year of legal battles and having to pay tens of thousands of dollars to his attorney, they finally got it settled. But this time was extremely stressful for him. Now if you compare it to someone else who has a pretty whatever car, then maybe the guy won't think to sue him for this much money, because you don't have anything. And besides worrying about other people stealing from you or suing you, owning expensive stuff can still keep you up at night. Like, if I own a $10,000 watch, I wouldn't feel comfortable wearing that watch out every day or taking it to the beach because it might get scratched. And when my wife and I got engaged, we actually did have a pretty nice engagement ring. We got a good deal on it, but it still cost a couple $1,000s. And it was precious to us. So she kept it safe and she rarely wore it out. And on her birthday, we went to a nice event in San Francisco where we stayed the night. Now it was a great time, but by the middle of the next day, she realized that the ring was missing. And so to this day, we're not sure if she lost her ring in the hotel room or maybe someone came and took it. We'll never know. But it was a pretty rough day for us because of this expensive item. So now with our $10 and $15 Amazon rings, they're nice to have, but we're really not that concerned if we lose them. Living humbly also lets you live in basically any part of the world without having to worry too much. For example, in Texas, we bought a home in a pretty whatever's neighborhood. But because we don't look super rich and we drive a pretty modest car, no one thinks we're super wealthy and we're not like that worth breaking into. So even though there was gang activity in the neighborhood, and once in a while you do have homeless people walking around the streets, because we keep to ourselves and we don't stand out, we haven't had any problems living there. So this is why looking poor is important, but don't take my word for it. Most of my philosophy actually came from a book called The Millionaire Next Door. In the book, the authors interviewed a bunch of millionaires to see how true millionaires actually live their lives. Were they living in super giant mansions? Were they driving the latest luxury cars? And were they eating filet mignon and drinking expensive wine every single night? And the answer is, actually they lived very humbly. They dressed simply and they drove practical cars like a Corolla because it gets you to the same place no matter what. And instead of eating the fanciest food every night, they preferred a regular beer and a sandwich. The main difference between them and everyone else was that they were willing to save money when other people would just spend it. And they invested for the long term instead of trying to go for these get-rich-quick schemes or trying to chase the latest trends and buy stocks on the way up. Now, of course, once in a while, they would splurge on nice experiences. So they might book a nicer hotel or they might upgrade their flights to first class. But for them, it was more about creating memories than just showing off to other people. And they were also okay with spending money to improve their quality of life. Honestly, the book really just emphasizes that most millionaires are regular people who are good at living humbly and practicing delayed gratification. And after I read that book, it shaped the way I live my life. Living this way and using the money that we've earned to buy our time and freedom instead of having to work a day job every single weekday has been an amazing experience. And it's definitely way worth it for me than buying expensive things to impress other people that I don't really care about. And when we go out and do things, it's for our own enjoyment, not to impress other people. Because we've made these kind of moves and we were very frugal in our past, now we're able to travel for 9 months abroad and do things like learn new languages in other countries or go to every single Disneyland. And we were even able to go to the Olympics in Paris this past month. We do what makes us happy and we don't have to worry about what other people think of us. And if looking poor is a trade-off for that, I'll take that every time. So if you're in a situation where you think that you need money to fit in, think about your own goals and what's important to you. And think about what will actually matter in 10 years and then plan accordingly. Now, if you guys agree, let me know one thing that you guys are not buying to save more money down in the comment section below. And even if you disagree, let me know one luxurious item that you cannot live without. Either way, you got this. And if you guys made it this far, then you definitely need to check out this video right here, where I talk about the #1 reason why people stay poor. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you next time. Take care.